Welcome back to Get Your House in Order, the show where we explore bold ideas, intentional living, and what it really takes to build a life and a business that aligns with your values and what's important to you. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Pam Didner. She's a global B2B marketing strategist, author, speaker, and she spent her career connecting the dots between sales, marketing, and strategy, has a fabulous background, and she has an incredible gift for making complex systems human and actionable. So, whether you're leading a team or you're building your personal brand, this conversation will challenge you, and we hope that it will give you some ideas on how to continue building your business or growing in your career while keeping your house in order. It's not just business, but it's life. Pam, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And that intro is completely overrated.
Well, that's great to have you. So, Pam, you have a fascinating career at the intersection of accounting, sales, marketing, storytelling. Can you walk us through how you got from little Pam to now Pam, how you started your journey, and what keeps you curious on the space?
Yeah, my journey is kind of like a twist of fate. And like you indicated, I was accountant before, and as boring as it can be. Anyway, long story short, I actually started with a finance and accounting background. I joined a company, and that company actually encouraged all of us to move around. And I really appreciate that after 2 decades with that company, which is called Intel. And way back when I joined, the founders and also the executives actually would like to grow their own employees. They actually encourage us to move around. So I started with the finance and accounting, eventually moved to operations. From operation, I actually moved to supply chain. I was on the factory floor counting parts. I did that too. From there, I moved to product team, product development, doing the project management, and then twist of fate, absolutely twist of fate. And one of my managers that I worked for several years moved to kind of like event space. They do a lot of events, and within that group that he moved to, and he asked me specifically, "Hey, do you want to do event operation?" I was like, "I don't know what that is. Sounds interesting." So I kind of jumped ship to the dark side, if you will. So from event operations, I did event marketing and then did several different marketing related jobs. And that's how I landed on the marketing side of things. Yeah, like it was kind of like moving around long winded road.
And what I love is how you talk about alignment. It's not just between sales and marketing, but it's
Mhm.
across teams
Yeah.
and goals. What's one common mistake that you people make or a disconnect you see? And what's the impact when that alignment is missing?
Yeah, so a lot of time we will make assumption, all of us, right? We have enough information about that the company work with, and we might have kind of in-depth knowledge about our stakeholders, internal stakeholders, or even external customers. And we will make assumptions. We'll say, oh yeah, you know what? There are challenges at this. I know that. Or, I know these tools will help them,
Hmm.
and I should go ahead and buy those tools, and I'm just going to implement it. And I think the alignment part of it come from like a lot of time, instead of making that assumption, you should validate your assumption. That means that you should communicate and talk to your internal stakeholders or even your customers before you kind of make a decision in terms of what you should do for them. I think that is probably the most common mistake that a lot of us kind of do, because we know some of the groups so well and we feel that this is what they need, but it's very important to validate that, talk to them first and get their buy-in before you move forward.
And I find that something similar. I think the people we work with, they lead with passion, we lead with passion and we
Yes.
believe in what we're building and we know it will work and we do it. But many times we fail to go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
And without validation, mistakes are made.
Yeah.
A lot of people in our audience, again, entrepreneurs, professionals, firm owners, are brilliant at what they do, but they struggle with the marketing piece. We want to like because marketing is not just putting your face on a newspaper, right? And saying
Yeah.
you call me in the next 3 minutes and you get a 222.99. Where should someone like that start if they know that they need to go out and market? They might be introverts. They might have a team. They might not have a team.
Yeah.
How can they start if they want to show up more intentionally?
That's actually a great question. Everybody struggles with the marketing. I said everybody, me included. Okay. The thing is, it's very hard to build that kind of brain awareness, that the people actually know what your company does and also what kind of products you offer, right? That means people need to give you kind of like 5 seconds of their time, try to understand who you are and what you do. So everybody struggles with marketing. And plus, marketing is kind of squishy. When I say that is, it can be successful and it can also fail in so many different ways. So when the perfect example is social media, and a lot of the small business owners say, we need to be on social media. Yeah, okay. Do you really need to? Or we need to send out newsletters on weekly basis. Do you really need to? We need to go to events. There's a lot. All these are marketing tactics. But you have to determine what works for you. On top of it, not just what works for you, and will you find whatever you do? Will you find your prospects there? So I have a client, and they are very big in manufacturing, tools that
Mhm.
actually for beverage plants. So they basically create a certain kind of automation tools for certain kind of manufacturing plants. The people that actually buy their products, they are not on social media.
Right.
They will go to events or they will subscribe certain kind of magazine. They still very old fashioned and old school that way. So does this company need to be on social media? Well, it's questionable. If it's related to sales, probably not right away. But if it's long term, eventually you want to build a digital presence, maybe you should start that now. Right. So it's something that as a small business owner, you need to debate. First of all, what works for you? What kind of channels works for you? And then second thing is where your customers are. And then see if you can find overlapping between the two. Then you can determine what are some of the marketing channels that you can use. And then you create a plan based on that.
So kind of reverse engineer because as you say, there's a lot of noise
There's a
and
lot of noise and there's a lot of channels, and we all have finite resources. Yeah.
especially time. Be
True.
authentic. Like if you're dealing with elderly people, well, you're not probably not going to go on TikTok, right?
No, exactly. Unless like you are going, eventually you want to reach like the younger generation, right? So if you want to do that, maybe you should plan that now. So
Right.
again, long term versus short term, and also what your business goes, and then you can determine what you want to do.
So how can people? I mean, I guess it's kind of like the question is kind of in the answer is how do people build a brand or a voice that cuts through the clutter?
It's very hard nowadays because there are so much noise out there, and like everybody has a channel. And everybody, I mean, if you talk to the younger generation, everybody wants to be an influencer. And many of them, they'll all have a TikTok, right? And they actually have a big following, small following, it doesn't matter, right? So it's very hard to cut through the noise. If you want to market to everybody, forget it. You cannot cut through the noise unless you use like a traditional media, right? You get on, the talk shows or that actually have a much wider reach, or you do a TV commercial. Even TV commercial, it doesn't really necessarily reach out to a wider audience. So the best way to cut through the noise It's not focused on like you want to market to a mass media, a mass audience. It's who are the audience you want to go after, that niche audience. Can you think through or think about it how to break through within that niche audience? That's the question you should ask yourself. Because in current environment, it's very hard to break through. Let's just admit that and embrace it.
Right.
Then who are your customers? What are the segment of your customer that requires you really think about it, right? Let's assume it's the financial planners. Okay, it's the financial planners that work for themselves, or financial planners that who are CPA, and also a financial planner with certification. Or are you talking about financial planner that working in Merrill Lynch or the big brokerage firm, right? So who is the financial planner that you want to go after? You have to have a very clear definition of it. And then once you identify that, you can think about what can I do with this sample of the people I want to go after? How do I break through?
What kind of value are you delivering, right? What kind of
Exactly. What is the real value proposition? Is it worth their time?
Yeah, because people, I mean, people might like you, but if you can't do something for them, why would they work with you?
Why do yeah? In a business setting, you have to provide value. You have to. Yeah.
And that's a trap or a hurdle people face, right? Because you can be very passionate about what you do, but if people are not looking for that, well, continue with their passion, but it might not take off, right?
Yeah. So, but again, you have to, I think having a passion is good, but you have to translate that passion into some sort of product that people are interested or to
If you see
explore
it as
or
a
to
business,
visit.
of course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this show is about helping people live more intentionally in their finances, in their relationships, at work, and everything is a combination because that's the real definition of work-life balance. Sometimes it's heavier on this side, sometimes it's heavier on this side.
Sure.
From your point of view,
Mhm.
what does it look like to get your professional house in order?
My professional house. Okay. For me specifically, I'm talking about me as an example. And because I have a accounting background, the most important thing from my perspective is you need to make sure your money is in order, like your finance of your business is in order. For example, you need to know how much cash you have. From my perspective, this is very important. And how much cash you have can determine, like, okay, how long it will last, right? You kind of know your annual monthly expenses based on the cash. You will say, okay, based on the cash I have, I can last another 3 months or whatever. You have some basic idea. Then with that in mind, then you need to look at your revenue pipeline as well, right? So now you know your cash. Now you also know how long that cash will last. And you're like looking at your revenue pipeline, say, do I actually have enough pipeline to bring more business so it will go beyond, say, my 3 or 4 months? Let's assume time is bad, okay? And the pipeline is dry. Then you need to think about your plan B, and your plan B is okay, short term, I'm not going to have additional revenue, or the revenue is going to be small, or it's going to be negative. Then you need to think about what is your line of credit. Do you actually have a line of credit that you can borrow for a bit to bridge that gap before the big revenue will come in? So the way I manage my professional life is all based on finance. So yes, I work very hard to build my business model, and so people, I create a lot of content so people can see my expertise. I do all that, but at the same time, I also look at the finance and make sure that the finance is in order. Because when your financing is in the order, okay, you probably will agree with me. When you get your financing order, things get a whole lot easier. It doesn't matter if it's on the professional side or on the personal side.
Right. And that's what we see when we work with individuals. They're super successful. They're super smart. They're in their own professions, whatever it is. But there's always that one element that's left behind. Be it having a will, having a conversation with the family, talking to them about your long term care wishes, or the overall family's estate and what does it look like, or
Yeah.
Where did it come from? Having an up-to-date tax plan. Like if you're not tax efficient, you're really working for the government instead of for yourself. And really preparing the next generation, not only for the creation of wealth, but also for the use of and stewardship of wealth. So that's where we swim every day.
Yeah, good for you. I think it's wonderful. When I started my business a while back, and they were two advices I received, and they were excellent. Number one is you should always have a customer relationship database, CRM. Basically, any kind of customer you interact with, you need to have a database to track all of them. And I'm not doing a very good job of that, but I do actually have a CIM, a database that track basically, my pipeline opportunities, past customers, and potential prospects in the future. The second advice I receive is lawyers and accountants are your BFF. They should be your best friends. And you should talk to your accountant on a regular basis. Just like you said, you need to, if you are not tax efficient, then have someone that can be on your side. And the other one is a lawyer. So, and I think you are spot on.
Yeah, well, we also we what we do too is we bridge accountant with
And the
lawyer
lawyers. Good
because
for
every
you.
we're kind of like the grout that keeps everything together.
Yeah.
Now,
Excellent.
you've worked with huge companies,
Yeah.
and you've also worked with solo professionals alike.
Yes.
What in your opinion separates those who stay stuck from those who actually more move forward with clarity and impact?
You know, that's actually a great question. I kind of want everybody to understand that if you are small business owners, and some of them are super smart, and they are some are very have a clear vision in terms of what they want to do, but for a long time they cannot get there. Okay. But there are many reasons behind that. They still have a clarity in terms of vision. They set up a process, and they work on their skill set. Whatever reason is, it can be something they cannot control. Their product is very niche, or sometimes people are not ready for that technology, whatever reasons. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, the person who wants to move up, a lot of them may not be successful. They still have a sense of a clear clarity, and they do a lot of things right. When I work with the global enterprises, there are a lot of people who don't have a clear sense of a clarity, but they still hold a very high positions. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, these two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. And I want people to understand that if you are small business owners, and even try to, or make an effort to have a sense of who you are and what you do, and to completely understand your customers. And
Hmm.
on top of it, understand why the products are going or not going. If they are not selling, why, and what can you make it better? And like I said, a lot of time, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's just luck. And I come to realize one thing working with several startups in the past, luck plays a huge role on it as well. So,
Yeah, and I know you talk a lot about strategy, and I guess for some people the word just is overwhelming. So you need to understand what your own strategy is and what it actually looks like putting it in place. But it's different if it's an entrepreneur, so sole
yeah,
person, than when you go in with a team at a big company. So
yes.
so where does it begin? Like where do you take your
Strategy
first
setting.
order?
You are completely right. The word strategy just sounds so abstract, number one. And second thing is, what is strategy anyway? Like, it just kind of like, it's such a big word, and it's so abstract. It's very hard for all of us to have a strong grasp of it. The way I try to solidify that, or try to make it concrete for my clients, for a small business owner, is set a strategy aside. You just set that aside. Okay. What is your business goal? So, for example, let's just make it as concrete as possible. How much revenue do you want to grow, or you want to reach for this year? Okay. Is it $600,000 or $60 million? It doesn't matter. Right. So have a number in mind. Once you have a number in mind, it doesn't matter if it's the big corporations or the small business, you have this number you want to reach, but you are right here. Okay, let's assume you want to get to $600,000. You are currently $400,000. So there's a gap of $200,000. Then you need to think about how are you going to bridge that gap? And that gap is called strategy.
Right.
As simple as that, right? So now you know your plan, you need to put something together. It can be a plan, can be a strategy, however you want to call it, right? To close that $200,000. So once you can identify that's want you to do, what that's your goal, that's what you want to do, that's a sense of a clarity. And then you can work with your team or you can work with yourself to find a plan or strategy to make that happen.
So there's a lot of reverse engineering as opposed
It
to
is.
just
You always have to look at the outcome. What is the outcome that you want to reach or the destination you want to get to? Then you move that backwards and say how I'm going to get there.
and we do the same. We don't go out. I mean, we're at the core at the firm. We do true financial planning, but we're not the kind of a place where we'll tell you should do this and you should do that. I first need to understand what it is as a client that you want to do. What's important to you? What's the meaning you want to give to your wealth? What's the conversation? What story do you want me to tell your kids when you're gone?
Yeah.
And then let's work it backwards and let's keep it simple and be as sophisticated as we need to be, but then not overcomplicate things for a questionable result, right?
Yeah.
We talk about alignment as if it was a one-time thing. I know it's not. I know
It's
plenty.
not. Yeah.
But how can someone do a self-audit professionally or from an organization's perspective to see if their house is in order, their plans are in place?
I think before you even do any kind of assessments, I always tell my clients, are you stressed? If you are incredibly stressed all the time or on daily basis, it's okay that we are all stressed from time to time. I'm stressed out because blah, 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 something happened. But if you are stressed out all the time because you're always trying to put out fires somewhere, someplace, that means your house is not in order. That's the first sign, and you need to acknowledge that. Okay. Once you acknowledge it, then you can determine, okay, what can you do to make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
And so I always gauge, at least for myself, like about my stress level. That's number one. And number two, in terms of the self-assessment or self-audit, I'm on the same page as you. I always feel like lack of money, and I'm just trying to be very honest and blunt here. Lack of money creates stress. Like if you have a credit card debt and you don't have money to pay for it next month, that's stress. If you actually have kids that are going to college, you don't have money to pay for college, that's stress. I think lack of money to some extent in American society does create a certain level of stress. And with that being said, I think it's very important to address that head on. Okay. Yeah. I'm not the type of person like, okay, money is more important than, our mental health, or money is more important than, the well-being. I believe that your mental wealth, your happiness is all your emotion. They are all very important. But I also believe has certain kind of money in place, it's going to alleviate that. Is that helpful? So if you are stressed about money all the time, that means your house is not in order. And I
you know
might
what?
be totally off. I might be totally off on that. You can argue with me, and I 100%.
No, I think it's a symptom, but and it's very interesting you raise that one because we often have dealt with really successful people that they just cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel because they're stressed over money, because they feel they're overspending, because they feel that they don't have enough for retirement, because they don't know if even they can retire. They don't know if they're going to, outlive their savings. And it's, it's warranted. It's stress, right? If not
Yeah.
knowing is a problem. But very often when people sit down with us and they go through the exercise and we
They're
do
like,
it,
oh, we are okay.
yeah, it's,
Oh,
I
we
mean,
are not okay. Either way, you kind of know, right? Yeah.
100%. I always tell them I'm not the good news fairy. If there's a problem, I'd rather tell you now when you're in your
Now, yeah,
50s
I
than when you're in
100.
your 90s.
Yeah.
But information is important, and burying your head in the sand and pretending that nothing's going on is not the way to do it, because then I think that all trickles down to your career, your family relationships,
Hmm.
your business, your clients, your employees, or your colleagues, and it's not good.
I agree. I agree.
And how are you
I
going to market something when you're in the middle of a noisy mess?
I think it's kind of hard and to do that, especially if you are talking to uh, like a very successful people. Maybe this is not something you want to address, and I think it's very important maybe to call out like what can you do to for them to give them the peace of mind. So there are two or three ways from my perspective that you can address that. Number one is what can you do to alleviate the financial stress or help them deal with unknowns. Okay, that's number one. And then the other thing is you can call out very concrete things such as, do you have estate planning? Are you aware your total wealth? Are you aware of something? But call it out very specific, very concrete, and say, you know what, we can help you to see that with complete light. So we can give you again the end message is a peace of mind.
And the other
So
thing too, people think that you can do it in overnight, right? Like
oh
it
no
takes.
no 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 yeah, but it doesn't matter. Get them first, and then tell them to give you time.
Yeah, it's like I wish I had a magic wand and fix all the
No no no
messes,
no.
right? But
Mhm.
you
You
don't
don't fix
purge a
that
house in one day.
one
You
day. Yeah,
don't
yeah.
organize your finances, and it's an ongoing
It's
exercise.
ongoing thing. That much I 100% agree with you. I have a financial planner. I have accountant. I also have a well. I have everything that is supposed to be in place. But that took us what 2 or 3 years. It's a journey to get where we are today.
Mhm.
And from the first time that we actually have the first meeting with our financial planner and identify the actions that we have to take. And then also, it's kind of like when you started that process, eventually you will get a list of a to do.
Yeah,
Then you just have to take your time to get that to do completed over a period of time. And it does take time. Yeah.
yeah. And you didn't build this, call it mess in 50 years. You're not going to fix it in two
In
weeks.
one day, no, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
So you've seen companies and leaders navigate growth, chaos, transitions, market meltdowns. In your world, in the world of marketing, what does resilience look like from a marketing or strategy lens?
That is a great question. And in my opinion, the resilience comes from what you will do differently when you are in a tough time. In good time, we all know what we need to do. Okay, in a good time, your budget is there, and your salespeople are happy. The pipeline is good. You just do whatever you have to do. Status quo. Boom, boom, boom. We're all good, right? Resilience comes from when it's tough time, your budget got cut, your colleagues got let go, and there's massive change in upper management, and creates a lot of chaos and uncertainty. What are you going to do to keep yourself grounded. What are you going to do so you are not going to melt down, or you are completely going to stress out to the point that you cannot manage your current situation?
Right.
So you need to think about it, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and you have to modify your behavior, and then go with what you have. And sometimes you're going to fail miserably, and you should be okay with that. And sometimes you will go, oh yeah, this works, so let's try that one more time. So that's the resilience I'm talking about, and be able to actually deal with the chaos in a very calmly manner, and in the time of uncertainty.
So operating from a point of clarity.
Yes. And
Okay,
that's hard.
before we let you go, let's do a little game, a quick lightning
Okay.
round. Just a few short questions to
Okay.
end on a fun and thoughtful note.
Okay, please.
So, what's one piece of advice you think is underrated but incredibly effective?
Underrated. It's very effective. Be very honest and transparent with yourself. I think sometimes we don't, and most of the time we don't. And I think it's very important. Like, you are very honest with who you are and what you can do.
Okay. Strategy, creativity, or execution? Which one do people most often underestimate?
Execution. Everybody can create strategy. Everybody have a sense of creativities. Very, very few people can take that into action and do it day in and day out, day in and day out. And to me, that's where people win.
Okay. What's something you've changed your mind about recently?
I changed my mind about AI. So I've been talking about AI and AI. I've been doing a lot of AI training. I even wrote two small little books about AIs. And I always feel that AI can be your companion and can increase your productivities. But now with the revolution of AI, how smarter they can be, I start thinking like a lot of jobs, like a real job that we do at a white collar level will be replaced. And I'm not sure that's actually good for the human society. But before I was thinking, at the technical level, right, there's probably a lot of repetitive tasks that can be replaced, no problem. Okay, fine. Then everybody else will find something else to do. And I think now it's encroaching to the point that, like, even the strategic thinking type of job, the creativity type of job will potentially be eliminated. And then what should we all do? So that just what ponders me, if you will. So
So, what's one book, one idea, or one habit that's made a meaningful difference in how you show up?
um, I think one thing that's very important to me is this sounds like cliche, but it's try it one more time. What I'm trying to say is, how many times we do something and we're like, oh, it's not working. And but I always feel like writing blog posts, or doing the podcast, and you are just doing like 200 podcasts, nobody listens, or you are been writing like 300 blog posts, nobody read, or you creating these products and like, okay, it bombed. My thought is always like, okay, well, let's try one more time. Let's do things a little bit differently and see if it'll go somewhere. And don't give up. I guess that's another thing I want to say.
Okay. Pam, thank you. I think this conversation has been such a gift. You're so authentic. You speak from the heart. You clearly have built something.
I don't know about that.
Well, you've helped a lot of people, so that's part of your gift, right? You've given us so much to think about, and it's not just in terms of marketing and strategy, but also how we bring intention and alignment to everything we do.
We do. Yeah.
So whether you're running a business or leading a team or just trying to show up with more clarity in your day to day with your family, with your business colleagues, with your work colleagues or your employees or people in life in general, there's always a lesson here about slowing down,
Yep, I do agree about
asking the
that.
right questions,
Questions. Yeah.
and getting your own house in order.
Yep.
Because if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
For you. Yeah. Well said. Well
If you're
said.
trying to build something that will last, you need to do it right.
Yep.
So, for those of you listening, if something that Pam said resonated, take that as your invitation to reflect and calibrate and recalibrate. And if you're ready to think more deeply about your own house, whether that's your business or your finances or your future, you know where to find us. And we'll show you where you can find Pam as well, whether it be in Canada or US or anywhere you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for spending the time with us, and we look forward to the next episode.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.